you're going to have a plan today and this week with all the cold weather that we're talking about. Carol Ann is here to talk about your gardens and your plants, and your phone calls are a big part of the show. And if you're wondering about what to do, if you're concerned, Carol Ann has the answers. Good morning, Carol Ann. How you doing?
Good morning, Larry. I'm doing good. It's cold outside.
It is cold out there.
I don't like it.
I was frozen in here, and I just took off my coat. I had it on all morning long. So
well, hey.
Hopefully it's okay.
Yeah.
And
I guess I'm doing good, except that I do find it very cold outside, and I don't like it.
How was your New Year's?
It was quiet. Just stayed home.
Did you make it to midnight?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
We were in Epcot for New Year's.
Yeah, I saw part of your live feed, but I saw mostly legs on one part of the video. It's like, okay, there's people walking. There's a whole lot of people walking. Okay, whatever.
Well, you know what that means? That means I was sitting on the curb because I was tired. I didn't want to walk anymore. It was so many people there.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was, for Central Florida, that was the place to be. If you were up in the Northeast, maybe, New York City or I guess Philadelphia, some of the big cities all have
those
something.
Places, yeah.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
Do you know what was cool, though?
Daytona.
Can I tell you something cool?
What's that?
Do you know that big ball they have at Epcot? The centerpiece with Spaceship Earth?
Oh, well, yeah.
From across the lake in the land where they have the nations thing.
Right.
They had projected, what do you call them, laser?
Oh, okay.
Of a clock. So the ball looked like this big, gigantic clock.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, cool. An analog clock, too.
Nice. Oh, okay.
So you watch the hands of them.
Right, watch it tick, tick, tick down. right. Well, fantastic. I'm glad you had a good time. Yeah, this is a whole new year of gardening. Of course, we're starting it on a very, very cold note.
Yes.
And unfortunately, just a few weeks ago, we were actually unseasonably warm, and now we are unseasonably cool or cold, and we will be for the week. And I'm not sure how much further that goes, whether or not it actually goes into next week a little bit or not. There's still.
So you know what the weatherman is saying about the possibility of snow?
They're saying, no, we're not. Yes, we might. No, we won't.
So
yes.
What's your thought? If you were going to bet on it.
I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't some flurries seen. Of course, with us, there is no accumulation unless it's on a cold car, because the ground never gets cold enough to do. But like on metal structures and stuff that actually do get cold and stay cold, normally our temperatures don't drop drastically or drop down into those freezing temperatures when we're real overcast. Usually that happens when the clouds clear and it all just goes skyward. Like uncovering the covers, boom, suddenly you're cold. And so, it's possible. I mean, we've had it before, and actually what the Panhandle had snow there before Christmas, that first cold blast that came through.
So I'm not a plant expert like you,
right?
But I can tell you one thing that I can probably be very sure of.
What's that?
My banana plant
is fried. Well, not dead, but it's been
dead.
Burnt. Right, it's been burnt. So have everybody's elephant ears. Anything else that's truly tropical has been hit or will be during this cold period.
All right. So what do? Do I cut it?
No, just leave it alone. Leave it alone. It's ugly. It's going to be ugly. Well, hey, we got the rest of this week to be cold, and we still have all of January, all of February, and we still have to get into the first part of March. But we leave everything alone until then, until we know we're out of that danger of frost.
Apologize, I wasn't sure if we had a phone call, but we did.
Sure.
We do have a phone call. Good morning. You're on there with Carol Ann.
Good morning, Carol and Larry.
Good morning.
I would suggest that people go around looking at their exterior faucets and make sure they're not dripping or everything is okay. With this kind of weather, they have a tendency to possibly freeze up, especially on the north side of the house.
We're not quite that cold yet. They're not calling for. Actually, they're not even calling for freezes or hard freezes when we have those issues that you need to actually crack those outside faucets and allow them to drip, so that you've got the water moving at all times, at least the
Right.
furthest one from the home usually is the best one to keep going. But right now they're not, I think our overnight low was 31, 32, and that was at about 6 a.m. And we're now up to, I think it said 35 when I was on my way over. So I mean, it's usually our worst. Yeah, I got 35 here on my phone. That was at 8:27 this morning, and so
Well, my reason for saying this is I've seen it happen where certain areas, the weather, Ocala weather, will say 30-something, and there's pockets where you have these cold spots for some reason.
oh yeah,
And I've been living here since 1996, so I've seen it happen already.
Oh, yeah,
where I live,
yeah.
in my neighborhood.
oh yeah. I've been here. I've been here since '83, and actually when I moved up here, my parents were in a mobile home, and the pipes broke underneath the trailer. Well, because we were actually in South Florida at that time on that for Christmas, and over Christmas, we froze hard enough to freeze the pipes under the mobile home. And it can happen, but usually that's gotten when the temperatures are getting down to 28 or so for an extended period. We're down to 32 for 2 or 3 hours. That's not going to freeze your pipes up. Not normally.
My point of mentioning it is, you go out there and check them.
Yeah?
And buy these little covers that can go on there. They're
Yeah.
basically styrofoam, which
Right.
is insulating material, and they have a little plastic thing that slips over the handle, and you pull it tight with a,
Yeah, a little zip tie.
sliding,
Yeah.
catch.
Right, right.
And it'll hold on there, and
Right.
it makes a big difference. Like I said, I had a neighbor whose pipe broke at that faucet coming out of the wall,
Yeah.
and was on the north side, and it was quite expensive and disastrous to repair.
Oh, sure,
Had to
sure.
break open the exterior wall, and it was quite a little job.
Yeah.
And it's not a fun time of year to be doing outdoor plumbing.
No, no. But like I said, on this weather thing, I mean, of course, obviously, most people, if you've got an area that you happen to be a little colder than other folks, and yeah, I know the cold pockets, or that there are cold pockets, is to pay attention to it. But I don't think we're in that cold a temperature on this one. At least,
but I'm
yeah.
just saying now.
Yeah.
if
Now's
you
a good
haven't
time
done
to-
something,
right,
Now
to-
would be the time to do it.
Sure,
before
sure.
If we get something like that.
Right, right.
You
And if-
know, after it's hit, the cold freeze is hitting.
Sure, sure. And if you have a
too
hose,
late.
if you have a hose bib that's actually away from the home, out in the garden or out in the landscape, to have the pipe insulation on there, the black insulation stuff. It's a split foam you can put around. You can either secure it with electrical tape or a couple little electrical zip ties. Same kind of
Right.
thing, just to insulate those. Now, trying to find, like you say, those little covers that go over the hose bib itself. Good luck. The stores here in Central Florida, they have some, but not very many. You figure we're not accustomed to those kind of temperatures. So if you've bought them once before, don't ever get rid of them because you may not find them again. You'll get new
Well,
people
anyway,
from,
it was
so,
just a little reminder for everybody to
Oh,
think
yeah.
about this.
yeah, that winter time is here.
It can get colder.
Yes, it can. Winter time is here, and we do need to take precautions, not just in our landscapes, but with our hose connections and such like that as well.
Alrighty, thank you, and thank you WOCA for the programming, and thank you Carol Ann for what you do, and everybody have a great day and enjoy the brisk walk or something.
Sure.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye now, Sonny. Yeah, it's going to be a brisk walk. It's going to be like a run from the house to the car,
Right,
from the
right.
car to the store, from the...
Is there anything you refuse to do because it's so cold, like take the garbage out or anything like that?
No, but I wouldn't be turning on the faucet and... No, I mean, it's just, you just gotta, I've got lots and lots of layers. I'm not a fan of the cold. And of course, part of that is the clothing we have here in Central Florida, or in Florida, is not the same weight of fabric as something you would buy if you lived in a northern
That's true,
state.
too, yeah,
So
yeah.
your blue jeans are thin. Your sweatshirts and flannel shirts are not the heavier quality. So, just dress warm, dress in layers, does help keep you warm. I would limit my exposure out there just because we're not accustomed to it here. The winds are blowing pretty briskly, and we do have wind chills. Wind chills with your plants, I'm not really sure if that really does much to them, except that plants transpire water through their leaves. So they can dry out. You'll see wind burn from that later on. You're not going to see it right away. They'll all look green. They might, if we get a warm day or a sunshiny day, or as it begins to warm up some in another couple of days, you may see a little bit of wilt to them. Just let it be. Let nature do its thing. If you've covered things, you can leave that covered. If you're using frost blanket, you can leave that covered. That's why if you're going to use anything, I recommend that because it does breathe. It does shed some water. You don't want it to lay on the plants. So if you can take a lawn chair and put over top and just drape all the way over, use your tomato cages to poke in there to keep it up off, bamboo stakes, twigs, palm fronds, whatever you can do to keep your frost cloth or your frost protection from touching the plant material. Do not use plastic. Do not use a plastic tarp. Do not use. That's just an instant. Let's kill my plants.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and if you're looking to insulate further, and you're wanting to put that over top of something, I again would make sure that is actually off of your frost blanket, because that plastic's going to get cold. It's going to hold moisture in there, and what freezes? Moisture. It's so doing what you can on that. Bring the more tender plants, if they're potted in the house, or push them up against the house and cover, put them in a garage and a carport, just somewhere where you can protect them, just because our plants don't have a chance to acclimate to the cooler temperatures like they would in other locations. So I have, by my sliding glass doors, there's quite a few plants sitting in there because I haven't done any landscaping yet.
If you're a snowbird, we apologize. You came down here for the warm air. I'm
Right.
so sorry.
Yeah, I saw on the news, I guess there's a couple of, I'm sure they're not all marathons, but a running club or something like that hosts about 13 races over the next 13 days. And I'm sorry, you're having horrible weather. It's, to be putting on your jogging shorts and getting out here in this weather.
Well, if you are a snowbird and you're new to this show, let me tell you, the lady who is the master gardener that you're listening to is Carol Ann Baldwin. This is her show. She volunteers to do the show once every Tuesday for a full hour, which means we've got another 40 minutes or so left in the show. And Carol Ann also has a Facebook page that you can go to called In the Garden with Carol Ann, or just In the Garden.
In the garden, yeah.
In the garden. And your phone calls are an important part of it. We'd love to hear from you. Carol Ann is an expert, especially when it comes to plants here in Central Florida. And cold weather, while it's not common, is also something you have learned about at the Master Gardener. So
Right.
you can help with that as well. And we need to take a little break, and we'll be right back. If you do want to call in, the phone number is 622-9622, 622 WOCA. The area code is 352. We'll be right back. This is an interesting thing. Carol Ann Baldwin is here. 24 minutes after 9 o'clock. The phone lines are open. The number is 352-622-9622. So here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
Fox News is
Right.
saying that if you're a listener to this station,
Okay.
and you can send them a photo of
Okay.
snow on the ground
Okay.
in our listening area.
Okay.
Make sure you mention the call letters of this station. I'm
There you
assuming they
go.
sent it to every station that's an affiliate.
Right. Sure.
So that would be cool, wouldn't it?
That would be. Yeah, if somebody, yeah.
It'll say, picture courtesy of Carol Ann,
And right.
WOCA listener,
Right,
or something
right.
like that. I don't know what it'll
That'd be,
say.
well, yeah, or
That'd be cool.
that would be cool.
Get a little-
I'm trying to see if I
We should take a picture of somebody we know in the snow, not just the snow, but you could be like standing there with a 2-inch snowman or something.
that would, yeah, or just, yeah, you get it.
Right?
Snow. It's snow. It's not dandruff.
That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, this for us here in Central Florida, that and people think folks from up north who haven't been here very long always think I'm crazy when I say that our winters can be worse on your plants in your landscape than the winter up north. And when I try to explain it, they sort of understand. And in a northern state, your landscape, your lawn, your plants go to sleep in October or so. And they stay that way.
Right.
And
right, right.
it's either just the temperatures are cold enough that they go into a dormancy and they stay there. Then they get blanketed in snow. Sometime during that winter time. If you're up in Erie, Pennsylvania, I think they're going to be blanketed in snow for months for the sake that they've had over 5 feet of snow just in this last week. My cousin lives up there, and it's like, wow.
That's a lot of snow.
That's a lot of snow.
Wow.
And
they can build a big snowman.
They could build it. Yeah, I don't even know if you could because you got to get on top. But with our weather, in October we're still warm. In November we had a cold snap, sort of set things to a little bit of a dormancy, but not by much. We go into what we call a semi-dormancy. Our perennials were still blooming last week, right before Christmas. Your perennials out in your landscape were still blooming. And, this doesn't happen, in a northern state. And so here, when we get this cold front, boom, it just knocks those perennials down in a hurry. They didn't go down gradually. If you maybe still had some of the warmer season annuals in the landscape, they are gone now. Like you mentioned, Larry, your banana tree is now just a brown wilting plant. Some of those might have gotten hit gently before and had some brown edges on them. Same thing with like the elephant ears, the alocasias, the colocaceas out there. Some of the plants we have around ponds or in some of the shaded locations that are just a little more tender. If you had or have gingers and things like that, if they did not naturally go into a dormancy back in about November, this will have sent them into that. But ours, it's just, 3 weeks ago, you had little bits of new growth, nice little green stuff, and now we have cold temperatures enough to damage the plants in the landscape. And if you drive around anywhere, you see that the lawns have the grass itself is going a little bit to the straw, to the brown color, and only winter or cool season weeds are showing their faces right now. And but you're not really going to do much for that this time of year either, only because trying to use an herbicide's not going to work. So right now we're not pruning anything. It's got cold weather. Even when we come up out of that cold, we're going to leave everything alone, because if you cut things back, just think about what you do in the springtime. When you cut your plants back, what are you doing? You're asking that plant to grow again. So if in 2 or 3 weeks we begin to really warm up nicely, and you're going, oh, hey, I'm off this weekend, I'm going to go ahead and clean up that landscape because that cold damage, I got brown sticks, I can trim all this stuff back. Well, you do that, and a few weeks later, those plants are trying to come out. They're going, oh, look, it's time to grow. You've cut me back. I need to replace that material on my plant in order to grow. And then we get another cold snap that drops down into the freezing temperatures, and all of that new growth is going to be burnt. And so everything you did to try to clean that up is actually for naught. And then if you had enough of it coming on there, you actually kill that plant back further, which can cause it either be stunted coming back up from spring, or just to kill it off completely. It's been several years since we've had a rough winter, and it's like this one might be one of the bad ones.
Yeah, it looks like it. All right, we're up against a break. Let's take that break. For the those who are not familiar with the show, we've got another half hour to go. So if you have any questions about your plants, your gardens, about, if this is unusual or not, Carol Ann is here to answer all your questions about the cold or about your plants. My apple tree is doing pretty good. Of course,
it's pretty nice in here. Nice inside
indoors.
here. Yep.
We'll be right back with Carol Ann. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.